The First World War, a global conflict that engulfed Europe and beyond from 1914 to 1918, stands as one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. It was a war that involved more than 70 million military personnel, including 60 million Europeans, making it one of the largest wars in history. The scale of mobilization was unprecedented, and the war's impact was felt far beyond the battlefields. It was a war of unprecedented scale and ferocity, marked by technological advancements that forever changed the nature of warfare. The introduction of new weapons such as machine guns, poison gas, and tanks brought about a level of destruction and carnage that had never been seen before. The skies, too, became a new battleground with the advent of aerial combat, as biplanes engaged in dogfights and reconnaissance missions. The Great War, as it was then known, shattered empires, redrew national boundaries, and left a profound and lasting impact on the 20th century and beyond. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, and German empires all crumbled under the weight of the conflict, leading to significant political and social upheaval. The war also set the stage for major geopolitical changes, influencing the rise of new nations and the reconfiguration of existing ones. This essay delves into the complex web of causes, the key players, the pivotal battles, and the enduring consequences of World War I. We will examine the intricate alliances and rivalries that set the stage for war, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand that acted as a catalyst, and the subsequent chain reaction that drew multiple nations into the fray. We will explore the political and economic factors that set the stage for war, the global alliances that drew nations into the conflict, and the devastating impact of new technologies such as machine guns, poison gas, and tanks. The war's trench warfare, characterized by its grueling and deadly stalemates, will be examined in detail, highlighting the harsh conditions faced by soldiers on both sides. Finally, we will examine the war's aftermath, including the Treaty of Versailles, the collapse of empires, and the rise of new ideologies that would shape the course of the 20th century. The Treaty of Versailles, with its harsh reparations and territorial adjustments, sowed the seeds of future conflicts, including the rise of fascism and the eventual outbreak of World War II. By understanding the causes and consequences of World War I, we gain valuable insights into the fragility of peace and the enduring importance of diplomacy, international cooperation, and historical remembrance. The lessons learned from this devastating conflict continue to resonate today, reminding us of the need to strive for a more peaceful and just world. The outbreak of World War I was not a sudden event, but rather the culmination of decades of simmering tensions. These tensions were deeply rooted in the political, social, and economic fabric of Europe. The continent was a complex mosaic of empires, kingdoms, and emerging nation-states, each with its own ambitions and insecurities. Nationalism, a potent force in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, fueled rivalries and territorial disputes among European powers. This fervent sense of national pride and identity often led to a desire for greater autonomy or dominance, creating friction between neighboring countries. Nationalist movements sought to unify people with common linguistic, cultural, or ethnic backgrounds. But this often came at the expense of minority groups and neighboring states. Imperialism, the pursuit of colonial empires, created competition for resources and markets, further exacerbating tensions between nations. The race to acquire colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific heightened existing rivalries. European powers were driven by the desire to expand their influence and control over vast territories, leading to conflicts over strategic regions and resources. This scramble for colonies not only strained relations between European countries, but also brought them into conflict with local populations in the colonized regions. To protect their interests and deter aggression, European nations formed a complex web of alliances. These alliances, intended to maintain a balance of power, ironically made the situation more volatile. A minor incident involving one country could quickly escalate into a major conflict, involving multiple nations bound by treaty obligations. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited this powder keg of nationalism, imperialism, and entangled alliances. This event set off a chain reaction as countries were drawn into the conflict through their alliance commitments. The intricate network of treaties and agreements meant that what could have been a localized conflict quickly spiraled into a full-scale war involving many of the world's major powers. The assassination was not just the death of a single man, but the trigger for a catastrophic global conflict that would reshape the world order. World War I pitted two main alliances against each other: the Central Powers and the Allied Powers. The Central Powers, initially consisting of Germany, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, represented a formidable military force. Germany, with its powerful army and industrial might, emerged as the dominant member of the alliance. The Allied powers, on the other hand, were a diverse coalition of nations united by their opposition to the Central Powers. The core members of this alliance were Great Britain, France, and Russia. Italy, initially allied with the Central Powers, joined the Allied side in 1915. As the war progressed, other nations joined the fray, drawn into the conflict by a complex web of alliances, territorial ambitions, and ideological commitments. The United States, initially neutral, entered the war on the side of the Allies in 1917, tipping the balance of power in favor of the Allied cause. Section 4. A spark ignites the powder keg. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, proved to be the catalyst for the outbreak of World War I. This tragic event marked a turning point in history, setting off a chain reaction that would lead to one of the deadliest conflicts the world had ever seen. The couple was visiting Sarajevo to inspect the Imperial armed forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina, regions annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908, which had angered Serbian nationalists. The assassination was carried out by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist associated with the Black Hand, a secret society dedicated to Serbian unification. Princip and his co-conspirators saw the Archduke as a symbol of oppressive foreign rule. They believed that by eliminating him, they could strike a blow for Serbian independence and unity. The plot was meticulously planned, with multiple assassins positioned along the route of the Archduke's motorcade. Austria-Hungary, outraged by the assassination, issued an ultimatum to Serbia demanding satisfaction and concessions. The ultimatum included 10 harsh demands, which were designed to be unacceptable, giving Austria-Hungary a pretext to go to war. Serbia's response was conciliatory, but not enough to satisfy Austria-Hungary's demands. Serbia, backed by Russia, partially rejected the ultimatum, leading Austria-Hungary to declare war on July 28, 1914. Russia, bound by its Slavic ties and its own strategic interests, began to mobilize its forces in support of Serbia. This mobilization set off alarms across Europe. The system of alliances quickly came into play, drawing other nations into the conflict. The intricate web of treaties and alliances that had been established over the previous decades meant that a conflict between two countries could easily escalate into a full-scale war. Countries were bound by their commitments to defend their allies. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and France, which were allied with Serbia. Germany's strategic plan, known as the Schlieffen Plan, called for a quick defeat of France before turning east to face Russia, which was expected to be slower to mobilize. Great Britain, obligated by a treaty to defend Belgium's neutrality, declared war on Germany after German troops invaded Belgium on their way to attack France. The invasion of Belgium was a crucial part of the Schlieffen Plan, but it also brought Britain into the war, further expanding the conflict. Within a matter of weeks, Europe was engulfed in a war that would last for more than 4 years. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand had set off a chain of events that led to unprecedented destruction and loss of life. The war would reshape borders, topple empires, and change the course of history forever. The world would never be the same again. Section 5, Blood and Mud, the Western Front and the Eastern Front. World War I was fought on multiple fronts, but the Western Front and the Eastern Front witnessed some of the most brutal and protracted fighting. The Western Front, a 400-mile stretch of trenches, fortifications and no man's land, stretched across France and Belgium. It was characterized by static warfare, with both sides dug in, unable to achieve a decisive breakthrough. Battles such as the Battle of the Somme in 1916 and the Battle of Verdun in 1916 resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties but little territorial gain. The Eastern Front, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, was more fluid than the Western Front, but equally brutal. Russia, with its vast manpower reserves, faced the combined might of Germany and Austria-Hungary. Battles such as the Battle of Tannenberg in 1914 and the Brusilov offensive in 1916 resulted in massive casualties on both sides.